Hey everybody, and I hope you are all nice and toasty warm in your houses, because right now it is a storm warning here. And that being said, I don't know how long I'm going to be able to keep this stuff outside. It is not meant for outdoors. Now the antennas are, but the antenna mounts, the magnetic mounts they're on, are not. And certainly these gold spot miners should not be sitting here and being covered in snow. Sorry again for the shaky footage, but the wind is blowing my camera all over the place. Okay, so that being said, I have about 14 days of data here that I want to be able to show off. The 14 days of data shows this antenna, which is an 8 dBi antenna, and this antenna, which is a 10 dBi antenna. Now again, they are on magnetic bases, which reduce the dBm by 0.6. So really, we're talking about a 7.4 and a 9.4. Now, according to Helium, both of these are 8 dBi. That's what I've listed them as. They are not located on this specific hex. I've placed them on other hexes just for testing purposes. But let's see what the results are, because, yeah, my face is freezing off and I need to go inside. Okay, we are back in the house and it is nice and cozy and warm, and we can talk about these antennas. So again, the two antennas we're looking at are this 8 dBi rack wireless antenna. This is omnidirectional, and it is using a magnetic base that reduces the dBi by 0.6 dBm. Now we're also comparing it with a 10 dBi Rockland backcountry rural omnidirectional antenna. This antenna also is on a magnetic base, which is being reduced by 0.6. Now in both cases, I have not listed it as an 8 and a 10 dBi antenna. Quite frankly, because of that 0.6 loss, I'm going to consider them both at a 9. This would be at a 9. The 8 dBi would be more like a 7. But even then, I haven't changed those settings within Helium. Helium considers both of them an 8 and does not place them next to each other or on two different hexes. So the hex location is different and the dBi is incorrect. But that being said, the Helium network only reduces the power going to your antenna if it is over 9 dBi. And in this case, we're assuming that the Rockland is a 9 and the rack wireless is more like a 7 at this point. So let's look at the numbers. So for Hotspotty right now, it is showing that the rack wireless antenna is getting about 0.46 in an average of 0.29 a day over the course of the past week. The Rockland is doing 0.35 with an average of 0.26 over, again, the past week. So honestly, while we are seeing the Rockland doing better, it is only doing better over just the past 24 hours. On average, we're seeing 0.29 here, and with the Rockland, 0.26. So not a huge difference. And if we just look over the past 5 days of January, here with the Rockland, we're seeing a 1.37 and a 1.37 once again over here. So they're almost identical. So what's the differences? I mean, what really matters? Now, if I look over a period of 14 days, and I'm going to jump over to explorer.helium.com for this. Again, we're seeing 0.45 for the rack wireless and 0.388, or we might as well say 0.39 for the Rockland. But if I jump over to a 2-day period, a 7-day period, we're seeing 1.79 here, and we're seeing 1.8. So again, over a period of a week, not a huge difference. If we jump over to a 14-day period, 3.812, 3.88. But that being said, the reason why I wanted to do this later, not have this video done today, was because this hotspot was down on December 22nd. It was just starting to get up and running. So I can't do a really one-to-one direct comparison over a 14-day period, but you can imagine that if it showed the proper amount, we might see something like more like a 3.833 as opposed to this 3.88. So again, I'm seeing that they're both pretty similar, and that's what I'll argue with people. You're going to get pretty similar results between these two, but here's one thing to take in consideration. I live on a hill, and because I live on a hill, we're dealing with topography that's a little different, and it's all directed into one area, as you can see between looking at the RAC Wireless and looking at the Rockland Backcountry. So if we look at the RAC Wireless and we're looking at it again on something similar to a 7 dBi, it's not using its full 8 dBi potential. One of the things we're hitting are many of the hexes, or I'll just say hotspots, closer to my house, which is producing, perhaps because of this, better results. Now it's also hitting farther away into a downtown area, but look at this in comparison, and I'll try to see how accurate I can make this in visuals to the Rockland Backcountry, which I'm not getting as much right here. I'm not seeing these. Maybe I'm not witnessing them at all. I'm not sure. But it could be that because it is considered a 10 dBi antenna, and this is considered an 8 dBi antenna, I, because of that angle, am just hitting more witnesses closer to my location than with a 10 dBi antenna. That doesn't mean the 10 dBi antenna is bad, and let me see if I can make this a little larger so we can do a one-to-one visual comparison here. Not quite getting this perfect, huh? For the visual. Here we go. I think I'm getting a little better now. But as you can see downtown, I'm hitting this area right here, and I'm pretty much hitting that same area with the 10 dBi antenna. So the farther out it goes, the better I'm seeing the results, meaning that I am getting witnesses, where previously I was not when it was closer to the house. Why is this? Well, again, it could be the angle, but even with that angle, it's not significant enough. So for you, if you live on flat land, it probably doesn't matter between a 10 dBi Rockland Backcountry versus an 8 dBi RAC Wireless. You could get the same exact results, which is, why I would tell people that maybe if you are putting this as high up as you can on your house and you have, let's say, 1 to 2 dBm loss coming from LMR 400 cable, maybe you want to put a 10 dBi Rockland on your roof, not a 8 dBi RAC Wireless. It'll make more sense because that angle is not going to make as huge of a difference on flat land as it is in the topography where I live. Now, that being said, I'd like to compare this with two other things, and that being, I'd like to compare the last 24 hours at 0.45 of the RAC Wireless antenna with the one that was sitting next to it outside. And as you can see, it's getting 0.36. Now, why is it lower at this point? I'm not 100% sure, but I will tell you this hotspot, for whatever reason, keeps going offline. As you can see, over a period of 14 days, dropped offline here, dropped offline just yesterday for 24 hours, dropped offline here once again. So It takes about a day for it to sync to the network, and then it comes on again. I don't know why every 4 to 6 days it goes offline, goes out of sync, and then needs to resync again. It's driving me a little nuts, so I wasn't able to give you a one-to-one comparison there. But even then, it's got some interesting numbers, which is that here we're getting 0.36, here I'm getting 0.45, and here we are getting 0.38. So I'd love to have two 8 dBi antennas right next to that 10 dBi antenna and show over a period of 14 days what it's getting, but at this point I can't do that. What I can do, which is again when offline, not sure what is going on with my gold spot miners, but they keep going offline and then taking a day to get back on. I'm going to be doing some testing to figure out why, but this is the 9 dBi directional antenna in my attic. And it is getting, as you can see, 0.51 in comparison to the 0.45 omnidirectional antenna. And honestly, I like those numbers, 0.51. Now, consider all of this for a second, that I have these 4 hotspots in my house, 0.45, 0.38, 0.51, and 0.36. These are all located in my house right now. So I am making way over 1 HNT a day by having 4 in one house. Now granted, I'm in a great location, but what this is telling to me is that I can have 4 hotspots in one house and make way more money. So I'm going to do some additional tests here, and instead of using, because of my location, omnidirectional antennas, I am going to be using directional antennas. So I'm going to be comparing these 3 directional antennas very shortly. This one here, this is a 8 dBi, sorry, it says 8 to 9. It is actually a 9 dBi antenna, or to be more specific, if you look at its specs here, it's showing 8.5 plus or minus 1. I'm going to call it a 9 at this point. Its horizontal width is at 85 plus or minus 20%, so that could be over 90%, with a vertical beam width of over 70%. So this is going to have a pretty wide breadth of downtown in order to hit. Will be very interesting to see how this does. Now this size is, as it says here, 290 millimeters in length. And I'm going to compare it next with this antenna right here. Now this antenna says it's between 9 to 11 dBi, but if we look down here in some data about it, first of all, it is larger than our other antenna. Our other antenna, like I said, was 290 millimeters in length, and this is 440 millimeters in length, or 17.3 inches, as it says. So it'll be interesting to see how this does. It shows a gain, or stating a gain of, again, 9 dBi for that 900 megahertz frequency. We'll see how well that actually does. It shows a horizontal beam width of 90 degrees and a vertical of 60 degrees. We'll see how that is in terms of accuracy, but I really love checking out these comparative antennas. The other antenna I'm going to pair this with, and again, this one was 17 inches, is this one right here. This is again a Yagi. These were all Yagis. I can see. I did a search for Yagi. That's how I found them. Yagi, and I wanted something that had free returns, so that's why I went with Amazon here. But even that being said, this is $23. This is $52, and again, it's about 17 inches long. And this is $52, and this one is, and I got to scroll down to find it, so I do apologize, trying to find the numbers here, 32 inches long. So it is a much longer antenna. It shows that at that 900 megahertz frequency, it's around 8.8, so around the same numbers we're working with all three. I just want to see which one will work out better. But here's one thing that interests me with this one. It's definitely a smaller angle here in terms of what it's going to be able to hit, at least as compared to this right here, which definitely has a wider space it's working with than this one. So it'll be interesting to compare these three and see how well they do. That's it for me. I hope you like this information. Obviously, we've got good results showing that, in my opinion, whether you have an 8, 9, 10 dBi antenna, you're going to get about the same numbers when it comes to omnidirectional. So now I want to switch it over and see what happens with directional. And that being said, I am actually going to get 5 static IP addresses in my house tomorrow. So I will be able to test these not as relayed, because as you can see, both this hotspot is relayed as well as this one, but I will be testing them as not relayed. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what kind of results I get. I'm excited to also find out whether I'm going to continually get offline, like with Happy Raspberry Worm, constantly dropping in, dropping out, dropping in, dropping out. It is annoying to lose earnings for a day because of that. But yeah, we'll see what happens. So again, please like and subscribe. I hope you like this information, and happy mining.